General, Mr. Chitendeni, to lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of us. Allow me to read from Romans 8, verse 28. All things worketh for good for all those that love Christ. Amen. Shall we bow our heads in prayer? God, our Father, who dwells and reigns in heaven, we humbly come before you at this moment. We want to thank you, Lord, for the showers of blessings that you have given to us and to our families. We thank you for having added another year into our lives. We thank you, Lord, for this sector that you have loved. We want to thank you, Lord, for the leaders whom you have ordained in the office of leadership, our honorable minister who continues to steer this ministry. We pray in earnest, Lord, that you may assist here to lead from the front, that we may also see the results as are required by this nation. As we have gathered here in one accord, we want to invite your presence, as you have assured us that where we gather 2 or 3 in your name, we are in the midst. Guide us as we deliberate issues pertaining the ICTs, that at the end of the day, we may glorify your name through better results. Forgive us as we have fallen short of the glory of God. Help us to continue to shine and to be exemplary as we live on this earth. We pray and offer this prayer through your precious name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Thank you very much, PMG, for that opening prayer. The Honorable Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable T.A. Mavetera, who is our guest of honor this morning. The Honorable Deputy Minister of the same ministry, Honorable D.M. Puti, in our midst. The Director General of the Regulation Authority, Postal and Telecoms Regulation Authority of Zimbabwe, Dr. G.K. Machengete. Let me also acknowledge in a very special way all the players who are here. I'm scared that if I start saying this one and this one is here, I may leave some, but a special acknowledgement to the Aura Group. Thank you so much, Samuel. Who else needs special recognition? Zanet is here, Econet is here, Tel1 is here, Net1. I saw Engineer Mchechemera somewhere. Engineer Mchechemera, yes, is there. Postmaster General Zimpost is here. Telco is here. Becca Tilly is here. Who else? Any organization that I haven't mentioned? Can you just say it? Sorry? DHL, the International Courier Company. Thank you so much for coming. Yes? Tandem Tande, yes, thank you so much. They confirmed yesterday. Who else? I don't want to miss anybody. I want the minister to know who is here. Yes, the Computer Society of Zimbabwe, thank you so much for coming through. Anybody else whom I didn't mention, apart from Potras and the ministry? I saw consumers, a representation from the consumers section. Are they here? Mr. Guatizo, yes, I saw you. Thank you very much for coming through. Honorable Minister, I think the key stakeholders are in our midst, and we are very excited. And should I say compliments of the new season to you as we start our year 2026. It has been traditional and that the minister engages with you to get an appreciation of probably what you have achieved in the past year, what you intend to achieve this coming year, and also what the challenges are. I know last year you gave the ministry some homework, but I can vouch that the minister has been working very hard in terms of making sure that the awareness level is actually raised in the ICT sector, making sure that the levies have now been reduced. Cabinet has approved that. Also making sure that there's a desk specifically dedicated to the postal and courier sector. So DHL now you have somewhere in the, if you have an issue that you want addressed, you go to a specific desk in the ministry. Other issues like the taxation, these things affect the budget. So she's continuously lobbying with the Minister of Finance. It cannot happen just in the middle. So the budget has to be taken into account, what they'd expect, the income that they'd expected to get from there. But otherwise, there's a lot of progress in terms of what you raised last year. And this year, she's come back. She has said, I now want to continue to have this as a continuous engagement to understand what the expectations of the new year are. And we are very happy that, Honorable Minister, there is actually this attendance. At this moment, let me invite the host, the owner of these premises, who is none other than the Director General of Potras, to welcome us so that, we really feel at home. If you are not welcomed, it might spoil the meeting. So let's be welcomed, and we make ourselves free, relax, and so that we can indulge effectively. Over to you, DG, if you can come through.
A very good morning to you all. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of the Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable Tatenda Mavetera, here with us. And also allow me to congratulate the Minister for having been, appointed to the council, the AI Council, under the Smart Africa Initiative. Let's put our hands together. It's a well-deserved appointment. Allow me also to acknowledge the presence of our Deputy Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable Digimuzi Puti, here with us. The Secretary of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Dr. Beulah Chirume, here with us, and senior government officials here present, the Deputy Director General of Potras, Mr. Alfred Marisa, also present, and all the Potras directors here present. The CEOs and representatives of various ICT, telecoms, postal and courier services operators here present, are members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by referring to one well-known philosopher, Niccolo Machiavelli, who once observed that a prince who is not wise himself cannot be wisely advised. Ladies and gentlemen, this timeless insight reminds us that effective leadership is grounded in the willingness to listen, willingness to engage openly, and to draw wisdom from those who are directly involved in shaping whatever, in our case, in shaping this sector. It is actually in this spirit of openness and consultation that today's stakeholder engagement has been convened. And we give gratitude to our minister, who is actually practicing what Niccolo Machiavelli, a well-known philosopher, had to say, that as a leader, you need to listen. As a leader, you need to engage. And through engaging, through listening, that makes you even wiser. A leader who does not listen is actually a fool, according to Niccolo Machiavelli. Let's put our hands together and thank our minister for that. So it is my distinct pleasure and honor and also privilege to welcome you all to this important meeting convened by our minister. And on behalf of Potras, and also on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to all of you, all stakeholders from the ICT, telecommunications, and postal and courier services sector who are gathered here today. As we engage, it is actually worth noting that 2025 was a fairly good year for the sector, largely underpinned by improved macroeconomic stability, and particularly the relative stability of the exchange rate. This stability provided a more predictive operating environment, which supported planning and investment decisions, and also enabled the sector to consolidate and, in some cases or instances, to expand their operations. Honorable Minister, we saw quite a lot of expansion. We did see quite a lot of upgrading by our operators during this past year, more than we had seen during the previous maybe 3-4 years. And all that was because of the environment that had become very conducive. While challenges remain, these gains actually provide a useful foundation upon which we can collectively build in 2026. So, may I, on that note, take this opportunity to now say compliments of the new year to all of you. You remember last year, or was it last year or the previous year, at the inaugural meeting with the minister, all will recall a statement that the purpose of the engagement is to provide an open
but a listening platform where stakeholders are encouraged to freely and candidly articulate their expectations to the Honorable Minister and to government as a whole. That still remains
the minister's aim, and we thank you for that openness. Therefore, we are actually invited to share our experiences, air grievances, or challenges that may be affecting operations or the growth of the sector. And importantly, to proffer practical and forward-looking solutions as well. Do not just come before the minister with just problems, but come with solutions as well. Your insights are actually very critical in informing policy direction, strengthening regulatory frameworks, and identifying collaborative approaches to advancing the sector. So the engagement actually calls for honesty, for clarity, and for decisiveness, so that together we can address challenges proactively and chart a clear path for the sustainable growth and transformation of the ICT, telecommunications, and postal sectors. So, what am I saying? I'm saying this meeting is ultimately about partnerships, about strengthening trusts, about enhancing mutual understanding, and collectively finding ways to advance the sector in support of national development objectives, and being spearheaded, of course, for the sector by our minister and the Ministry of ICT. So in closing, I wish to sincerely thank the Honorable Minister for creating this opportunity, especially for this year, where we are just coming out of a year which we believe strongly as a sector that we performed better than previously. So this meeting becomes so timely and so important as we start the year. Last time, I think we had this meeting in February, but this year we are having it in January. So we should actually hit the ground running. Otherwise, I thank you and I welcome you to Potras. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, DG, for welcoming us, and also for giving an overview of the sector, wherein you pointed out that we now enjoy stability in terms of the exchange rates, which has helped consolidation and cohesion within the sector. He has also pointed out that we need to be working towards national goals. Maybe for the sake of some of us, we fall under the science, technology, digital, innovation, and human capital development thematic group under NDS2. So when you get your NDS2, which is a thick volume, that's the section that you actually check. I think it's section 6, if I'm not mistaken. So can we read the national development goals so that we check? I think I'm persuaded to come back to your comments, Madam Kala, where you say, how do we measure ourselves? See whatever we are doing, is it in alignment with the national development goals? He also says, don't just bring problems, but also solutions. And I am reminded, DG, of something that I saw circulating, where the owner of Apple, who was he, Steve Jobs, was saying some of us are consultants. Huh? Inini ndiri kuita hapana, literally. So Steve Jobs was saying, up until we begin to implement, right? We begin to implement, we go through failure, we go through some experience, we fall down, we begin to rise. Only then can we say we are really doing something. So please, I think the thrust of the meeting, even directors from the ministry, the thrust is that we must start to implement. At this moment, today I'm co-hosting with my acting CD. Acting CD, I'm leaving the floor to you so that you can coordinate the presentations from our stakeholders for the minister to take note and respond. Thank you. Mr. Mplanga, please.
May I recognize the presence of our Honorable Minister, T.A. Mavetera, our DM, Honorable Puti, the PEMSEC, Dr. B. Chirume, DG, Dr. G.K. Machingete, CEOs and stakeholders here present. It's a difficult task to co-MC with your boss. Also happens to be a Chihera. But nonetheless, I'll take up and I thank you, PEMSEC. We now move on to the next phase for our program, which is a phase where we are focusing on the presentations from you, the key stakeholders. So we are going to be sharing your insights in terms of your achievements, what you achieved last year, and more importantly, what you expect from the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm a man of few words. Having said that, I think we are going to go straight into our first presentation. Allow me to invite the chairperson for TOAS, Engineer Ankala, ably represented by Miss Maureen Chirambagua. Can we clap our hands as she walks to the podium?
A very good morning to you all. Yes, my presentation is on the board, the Honorable Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, the Deputy Minister, the PS and DG, all delegates, stakeholders from the ICT sector and postal sector. Good morning to you and compliments of the new year. I will present a combined presentation that will cover tours. We figured that all of us as operators, our issues are more or less the same. So we're going to have a combined presentation. After my presentation, I will invite my fellow counterparts and partners to also just add a couple of things. It's a very short presentation, but I'll get straight into it. All right. So we mainly decided to focus on our key challenges within the ICT sector, specifically for telecommunications. And the first one that I want to talk to is high taxes and levies. So in terms of taxes, I just decided to put tables on there that just show what it is that we have under each category. So in terms of taxes, we've got a VAT of 15.5% that is paid on a cash basis. Then we've got special excise duty on airtime, which is paid as 10% on invoice basis. We've also got regulatory levies, a monthly license fee of 2%, universal services fund of 1.5% on turnover. We have our different annual spectrum and number fees for each operator, and then operating license. Oh, thank you so much. All right. I can, yeah. I do. Oh, yes, that's what I also thought. Neither do they qualify for capital allowances, and then local authority levies. We've got non-uniform way leaves, excavation permits, and inspection charges across 92 councils. City councils are now proposing to charge monthly rentals instead of once-off trenching fees. So the overall impact of these high taxes and levies is that we've got a combined monthly tax and levy burden of 30% as to us. We've got severe working capital challenges due to a timing mismatch between taxes and levies, which are calculated on billed revenue, while collections from postpaid customers are delayed by an average of 60 plus days. In terms of our proposed interventions to the ministry, is to harmonize national and local authority policy and legislation so that we reduce the tax burden on operators, and to standardize local council levies. We are also lobbying for appropriate tax legislation that qualify operating license and spectrum fees for tax deductibility or claiming of capital allowance. So I think this sort of summarizes our issue on taxes and levies. Moving on to other expectations from the ministry in terms of what we can do just from a telecommunications cost perspective. The first one speaks to taxes and duties, which I think I've already alluded to, but what we are now insinuating there over and above harmonizing the taxes and duties is we are calling for reduced import duties on literally all equipment. We did mention their fiber cables, routers, radios, ONTs, network hardware, but generally all equipment that is used by telecoms operators in country. We're also calling for zero rating VAT for essential ICT equipment and tax incentives for ISPs who are investing in rural expansion. As a ministry, we do have a mandate to ensure that we drive towards a digital economy, and we want to include even the underserved areas. And so for us to be able to do that, we need to enable the operators through some of these suggested interventions. Then obviously shift of excise duty from revenue to cash basis. We also want to highlight tax and duty rebates for local device assembly kits. We do have a manufacturing plant at Tel 1, and I think within the sector itself, we do encourage that we locally manufacture kits and equipment in country. So issues to do with lower production costs and improved competitiveness of locally assembled devices is a key one for us as a sector. So that we are able to support industrialization, job creation, and import substitution. I will cover the specifics of what interventions we want on there. Then in terms of the table, the light blue table to my right, we are also thinking, because we've got a lot of power issues in country, I think every operator can talk about how their costs have more than doubled or trebled due to power outages, which then require us to put diesel and fuel into our generators, to install backup, to install solar solutions. So we feel that incentives for green energy adoption will be very critical into 2026 to curb power issues. So we are advocating for tax and duty exemptions on solar and renewable energy equipment that is used for ICT infrastructure. We also want support for establishment of a national carbon footprint registry to guide green investment and climate-aligned financing. It's a critical one for us as a sector. We are also thinking, we do acknowledge and appreciate the ongoing USF-supported access projects that the ministry in partnership with Potras have continued to roll out over the last couple of years. But we feel there's a strong case for expanding USF utilization to include backbone network deployment in economically non-viable but strategically important provinces. Backbone infrastructure will reduce the digital divide. It will enable last mile connectivity for remote schools, clinics, and districts, and directly support attainment of our NDS 2 and Vision 2030 objectives. So this is the last slide. I tried to summarize everything in the first two slides. We also, I did allude to the case of vandalism, which I think is dear to my heart, coming from Tel 1. So we are proposing two national policies. The first one, the call before you dig, is something that as Tel 1, we've already done a lot of work around coming up with a policy that ensures that when people are doing construction work or whatever it is, they do not disrupt existing infrastructure, and we reduce downtime and even quality of service issues that comes around because of fiber breaks and network interruption and things like that. So there's a call before you dig national policy, which we feel all operators can get involved and we can actually incorporate the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure Development, as well as the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works. The policy will significantly reduce accidental damage to underground telecom infrastructure in the country and improve network quality and service availability. Overall, it will lower infrastructure repair costs and the overall cost of doing business. The second one is the implementation of a one pupil, one laptop, one device policy. Doesn't have to be a laptop, it can be multiple devices, the one that the child prefers. And we are calling on the ministry to drive implementation of this policy to accelerate digital skills and e-government adoption. We want to create a guaranteed domestic market to support ZITCO, local device assembly in country, and strengthen national digital inclusion and local manufacturing value chains. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That brings me to the end of the short presentation. I think I will call on the other operators if they just want to comment or add one or two things. Is this the roving mic? Sorry, I think we've got Mr. Chmanikere from Econet who wants to say something.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for representing us as Thank you, Madam Chair, for representing us from a TOAS perspective in terms of articulating the issues or protocols observed. I think the issues have been well articulated from some of the main issues that we need support as a sector. But perhaps just to acknowledge that whilst we raise a lot of issues that we believe need attention, we believe that there has been a lot of progress made in addressing some of the fundamental issues that drive our sector in terms of development. And as the Director General has mentioned, it's seen an acceleration in investment in the sector. One area I would like just to emphasize from the presentation that has been made is something that the GSMA and IFC and other bodies have done numerous studies on, which is the access to devices. And Honorable Minister, I believe the idea of a policy on device proliferation is one of the main and fundamental issues that we need to adopt. And studies show that devices generally should be about 15 to 20% of GDP per capita per month in terms of making them affordable. By my calculation, that means a basic entry smartphone, which is, I think there is a body called the GSMA Coalition, which has set the standards of what that should look like, should be about $20. And it's estimated generally in Africa that about 30% of the cost of a device is actually taxes. So really just to emphasize that one point, because I believe it will be truly transformative for digital inclusion and also financial inclusion within Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chimanikire. I don't know if, yes, from Net 1, Mr. Mchechemera.
Oh, thank you. Morning, Honorable Minister. Morning, everyone else, all protocol observed. Thank you, Roy and Maureen. I think they touched mainly on the cost of service provision. What does it cost to provide the service? So I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm going to go straight to just one item that I thought was left out, which is the infrastructure side. Honorable Minister, you will find that we are now sort of diverting from our core business, and we find ourselves developing roads. We find ourselves building power infrastructure, like pulling HT lines that provide power to our base stations. At times, I remember we were developing an HT line going as far as 40 kilometers just to take power to the base station. So if there can be policy, if there can be discussion with our colleagues in Ministry of Roads, Ministry of Energy, where we can get rebates for that investment that we are making in those areas. I know, Roy, we're buying a lot of transformers for ZESA. We've done a lot of investment just to cover up for the gaps that we find in the energy sector. But for operators, there's nothing really that is then coming our way in terms of benefits or even incentivizing us to do that. So if we can have incentives, even tax incentives around the infrastructure development that we are making in those areas, roads and energy, then on the same bracket as well, if we can have tax incentives in place for development work that we're doing around putting up base stations in rural areas. I know USF is doing a lot, but I feel we can do a lot more if we can incentivize development of network in rural areas. Those tax incentives, if we look at it from a sector perspective, this is a win-win for everyone. We are going to have the consumer benefiting, we have government benefiting, we also have the business itself in terms of the operator benefiting. So if you look at it on a 360 approach, everyone is benefiting from such tax incentives. This will lead to us having more capital injection being put into development of network in the rural areas. So I think infrastructure is quite key. But if we incentivize the development, then even some of the goals, Honorable Minister, that you have for the sector in terms of bridging the divide and making sure we bring connectivity to everyone, those will be quickly achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I will call upon under tours, Dande, Madame Planga from Telco, if there's anyone who wants to come up. All right. Yes, you want to come up? It's okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Maureen, for that submission, and to us members. Thank you so much. So I think at this point in time, we are going to open up, for any comments from the floor before I invite remarks from our high table. Are there any comments or any remarks from what has been submitted under tours? Let's feel free. Yes. If you don't wish to raise your hands, I've got the liberty of inviting you to come to the podium, right? So let's feel free to talk. All right. I see there are no. Oh. All right, DG.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Maybe before the minister presents, I was just a little bit, worried on one issue, which I think we need to seek clarification before we move forward. Honorable Minister, there is this ZITCO. They are supposed to be producing computers. They have been on it for, I think now 3, 4, 5 years. What are the issues? What is the problem? Then we start talking about device proliferation. I thought if we were producing, surely we would have the devices all over the shore. We are actually importing, entry-level computers right now, instead of purchasing those entry-level computers from ZITCO. In fact, as Potras, we actually gave them an order. That order has been sitting with ZITCO for the past 15 months. So I think it's better we look at the actual problems. What is it that is making you fail to produce? Because we have seen other, private sector entities elsewhere in other countries producing. For example, Rwanda, they're producing. Kenya, they're producing. So what is the problem with us, which makes us fail to produce now 3 years down the line? Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Morning. Thank you very much. Allow me to recognize the Honorable Deputy Minister, the PS, our DG for Portras, and all our sector players who are here present. Yes, that's a very, very critical question that you have asked. And indeed, ZITCO is currently working on some devices that they procured from outside the country, and they want to assemble them. To date, we have not been able to get a company that is available to actually manufacture devices. We only have companies that are available in terms of assembling devices. So maybe, like what has been said by the earlier presenters, it's important for us to really come up with some incentives which will go towards us capacitating these people, even encouraging them to really invest in the manufacturing of devices. Zitco to date, I know in December, they updated us that they'd got the container had arrived in Zimbabwe for them to produce, to start producing these gadgets. So I'm quite sure that already they're going to be starting very soon to do that. But besides Zitco, we also have got other institutions which have already started also assembling devices. We have got the Palpo from Bindura University. We even have Midlands State University also producing these gadgets. So as government, I think we really need to be very deliberate in availing maybe resources, if not only resources, just giving them a platform for these organizations and various institutions to sell to government, or even to at least find ways that they get these various devices getting into various use within the whole nation. And again, maybe we need to also I know we are going to Bindura University. We failed to go in December, is it? We'll go to Bindura University, I think next week. When we go there, we have these interactions and find out even some programs we can put in place, like the one which was being initiated to say we want to loan devices even in various institutions, even our universities, our schools and primary schools and secondary schools. I think it's quite important. There needs to be conversations, and I really want to assure you that yes, the Devices for All initiative is what we want. And the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, together with us, we have said we now want one device, one pupil, meaning that each and every student has to have a device. And we want to thank the likes of even UNICEF, which also assisted us to be able to achieve this, where we got UNICEF assisting us in procuring some devices. And as government, we also have got a budget line where we want to also make sure that we provide for these devices and make sure that we have more device proliferation in the whole nation. I so submit. Thank you.
Sorry, with your indulgence, Honorable Minister, maybe let's hear from Tel One. Tel One, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe launched Zitco. What are your specific problems, if any, that you can share, publicly share? Leave those that are a bit intimate.
Thank you, PS. I will leave the intimate ones. So yes, we did launch Zitco, and I think I do want to thank the Honorable Minister for making the response easier for me, because she covered most of it. The problems were really around capacitation and getting the suitable partners. So a shortage of kits over the years, and DG did speak to the fact that we do have an order that is outstanding. But I think fast tracking to 2026, we are back on track. We've actually managed to refurbish the facility. It's got extra capacity. Now it was 50,000. It's now going up to 100,000 capacity. So we are very excited. And I hope that this excitement this time around actually does yield results, such that when we have our next meeting, people are actually seeing the devices. It's going to be laptops mainly that we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, DG, and thank you, Honorable Minister. I will not, talk about what has been presented, but I think the presentation was quite pregnant in terms of the expectations. Issues to do with the taxes and the levies. I think it was quite clear that there's need to have a real look in terms of this, in terms of VAT, the regulatory taxes, and the local and council taxes. And I think the issue of rebates was quite pronounced in the presentation, and also the issue of incentives in terms of the green technology. We are going to then have, I think, comments from the and obviously, the high table is going to respond to the issue of the said high taxes, right, and levies, right. But I think for now, let's move on to the next presentation. I'm going to invite the next presenter, Miss Nkala, who is representing Ziapa. Can we put our hands together as she makes the short walk to the podium?
Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, please may I ride on all protocols that have gone before. While the presentation is coming up, Honorable Minister, I see a lot of suits and beautiful formal dresses in the room. Perhaps can we come up with a resolution to dress in a more youth-facing way? I know you're very passionate about the youth. How are we going to invite them into a room like this without intimidating them? That's a joke. However, I do think that as a telecoms industry, we're shaping the future of our children and our youth, and this should be a space where they can also come and contribute. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present. The TOAS group has presented a lot of the same issues that Ziapa is going to present, so I will not belabor most of the issues. What I will do is maybe double down on some of the proposals that we would like to make. So in our view, there are two major things that we want to deal with in this year of 2026. The first one is about ensuring the sustainability of the sector. If our sector is declining or dying, it curtails our capability to invest more and to attract more investment. So I think the first and most urgent thing is to deal with issues that will impact the sustainability and the survival of the players in the sector. The second thing that I think we do need to then deal with is the growth of the sector. So the issues that I will present will be disseminated in these two specific ways. Thank you. So issues that affect the sustainability of the sector, the first one has already been elaborated by our colleagues from TOAS. Our specific proposals and policy considerations are as follows. The first thing that we would propose related to infrastructure vandalism in particular is that we explicitly create legal protection for telecoms infrastructure. At the moment, the infrastructure, yes, I think in theory, everybody sees it as an important asset, but I think we do need to prescribe it as a critical national asset. And as such, if anyone interferes with this critical national asset, we then need to fast track any repercussions that come with interfering with this critical national asset. This requires, obviously, collaboration from multiple ministries. It requires collaboration from ICT, Home Affairs, Justice, and local government. And we do understand that that is no small job, creating that collaboration. But we think that going forward, if we could put in place such a designation and legal protection for telecoms infrastructure, as well as working committees that make sure of the protection of that infrastructure, it will benefit us going forward. The major issue is that infrastructure that you continually have to repair is taking money away from investments in infrastructure that you could be putting into the ground or into the air. So we must understand this as an investment issue, not just as any other issue. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Our colleagues Atoa has also touched on the issue of taxes. I'm sure you're tired of hearing of the issue of taxes. But one of the things that perhaps to add to the case of the multiple taxes, one of the things that excise duty in the way that it's currently being implemented, and I'm not sure that it's been seen this way, is it is a tax that is compounding all the way down the value chain. So a first tier operator purchases bandwidth from outside the country and brings it in. A second tier operator that then is maybe an ISP or another IAP purchases bandwidth from a first tier operator. At that level, they're paying the excise duty tax as a cost input. Anywhere further down in the value chain where this excise duty is then applied, it's another 10% that's compounding all the way down the value chain. What this essentially means is that at the end of the day, our services are more expensive than they need to be. I know that there's a huge drive for us to decrease costs. There's an outcry about how expensive telecom services are in our country. And I think one of the things that we do need to do is critically have a look at all the costs that go into this value chain and understand where some of the compounding happens. And when we do that, maybe make more decisions that cover the entire value chain, not just specific points in the value chain. And I think this may be an issue that as a sector and an industry, we may need to bring to the fore to our colleagues in the finance ministry. We also face a case of shrinking margins for operators. And I think what shrinking margins effectively do is they disincentivize investment in the sector. When investors look at an operator that has margins that cannot hurdle a certain rate, they are not attracted to that sector. I think in this globalized world, it is fair to say that we, as Zimbabwe, we're not competing for investment. Sorry, as Zimbabwean players, we're not competing for investment by ourselves. We're also competing with our fellow neighbors and companies in neighboring countries for the same investment. And so we also need to have a look at how attractive is our environment for investors to come and invest in it. And I think looking at that at a macro level is also quite important. We also would like to propose on the positive side of growth, the same thing that our colleagues have proposed, which is more incentives for investors and other people to do certain things in our industry. Our specific incentives that we would like to propose are infrastructure tax holidays, where we've spent money on infrastructure, especially solar infrastructure and other types of infrastructure. We would also want to advocate for accelerated capital allowances in the tax structures, as well as duty exemptions on some of the telecommunications equipment, specified telecommunications equipment that we bring in that's important to the rollouts that we do. Next page. Also, we'd like to advocate for a spectrum policy that is quite friendly to rolling out using certain spectra in areas where maybe there's underservicing. I think this is something we can, pick up with the regulator. However, we do think that there's opportunities for more effective and efficient utilization of our spectrum, and also for our spectrum decisions to be less driven by maybe revenue generation and more driven by a shift to allocating spectrum for greater coverage. Our colleagues already spoke about the national Whaley framework, so I will not echo that, but it is an important consideration. And finally, we'd also like to propose that certain key performance areas become part of a quarterly review system that together with the ministry as well as our regulator, we can look at on a regular basis. I think these issues, key performance areas, have to do with network resilience. We do hear complaints as network operators about how our networks are not performing at the right level.
And we do acknowledge that it's been harder and harder to keep network uptime to the required levels. But I think there's a lot of things that drive that. And so if we can have a national dashboard or an ICT dashboard at an industry level that helps us to look at all of these things as well as the reasons for them and where we are very tactically addressing those reasons, I think this would be very, very helpful. With those comments, Honorable, and all who are in the room, I submit.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nkala, for that submission. At this point in time, I'm going to allow other players under Ziapa to also make some remarks. Should there be any comments or remarks? May you support your very own. Is there still, thinking, maybe, I think there are quite a number of issues which they were raised here. And I think some of the issues are also cross-cutting. I think the issues which fall under towards they're quite similar. I think one issue which keeps on, recurring, I think is the issue of energy, issue of power. I think when the high table responds later on, I think they're going to address this issue. And obviously the issue of the excess duty, which is said to be compounding. I had to, put on my math cap, to see what does compounding mean, right? And and also I think the issue of the shrinking margins, right, which was raised. I think it's a very important issue, which is supposed to be looked at because it is said then it results in underinvestment, market exits, which the ministry does not wish that to happen. And also, I think another key issue that was raised, I'm not sure, maybe the DG may want to respond at this point in time. I think the issue of the spectrum policy, where they are said to be quite high spectrum costs, and there's quite some bandwidth which is idle. I'm not sure if the DG would want to respond to that item at this point in time. And also the issue of the quarterly forum structure, I think is quite interesting, and I think the item is going to respond to that again. I think it's very important to have such a structure. DG, I hope I'm not ambushing you.
No problem. Thank you very much. You recall my statement when I gave the welcome address. It also means that a leader without lieutenants is your place. You see, I do have spectrum experts in here. Not only experts here in Zimbabwe, but international experts, respected the world over. Internationally, they are consulted, Honorable Minister. Yeah, and I have Engineer Sirewu here. I think he will competently answer the issues to do with this spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. And I'm looking for our global consultants. I think you may come to court. Oh, sure.
Thank you very much. I think the DG has exaggerated a bit. So we can only do as much as we can under the circumstances. So yes, I do appreciate the point from Ziapa about spectrum pricing or spectrum policy in general. The policy has been under review for the past few years. First, starting with decoupling of spectrum access fees from the initial license fees. That is the time when we introduced converged licensing. So we now have a regime where the initial license fees is substantially reduced and decoupled from spectrum access fees. The reason we did that is because some operators have got less appetite for spectrum and some has more appetite for spectrum. So if you have an operator, I think examples are abound. Some of them, they just want to use optic fiber for fiber to the home and also for participating in the backbone segment of the network. So those will be fully exempt from any fees associated with spectrum. Whereas previously that was loaded on the spectrum, on the initial license fees. So perhaps that's a plus in that direction. As for the actual fees that are obtaining today, I think we are open to further engage with operators if they feel those are still heavy on them. I know operators would want the fees to come down to zero and perhaps go more on the negative side to the extent that they would get subsidies. I think that's insinuated probably in the statement that we should incentivize rural coverage. I know part of the incentives could be in the form of zero rating spectrum fees for rural, but it comes with complications like how do you define where rural starts and where urban starts and so forth, especially from a technical standpoint, not administrative standpoint. So, but I think the bottom line is we are open, and I think sometime in the year we'll call on a meeting to discuss this matter further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for allowing me to take the floor again. I'm going to comment on the issue that is recurred both by TOAS and ZIAPA, the issue of taxation. This issue, we have raised it with the relevant minister. But you know, my wild thoughts as I'm sitting here is that maybe we need to make a 2026 submission. Let's have a consolidated paper coming from TOAS and ZIAPA together. I'm sure the rebates, even as spelled out by Net One, the rebates on investment will be part of that submission, so that we can submit that to the Minister of Finance for consideration. And also just to say that the USF supported network deployment, DG and our operators, we've been requested this time around that we make a special quarterly update to Cabinet on what we are doing at the borders this year and maybe going forward. There's a great concern that our border areas remain out of network. So maybe I thought I should just highlight that, so that going forward, the border areas are covered, and we want to know what you are doing at the border areas to in line with the inclusive living, no one and no place behind mantra. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chirume, for those comments. Do we have any other comments from the floor? Okay. So at this point in time, I'm going to invite the CEO from Zimpost, Mr. Stendeni, to make his presentation. Let's put our hands together as he walks to the podium.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. Allow me to recognize the presence of the Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable T.A. Mavetera, the Deputy Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable Deputy here present, my able regulator, led by Dr. G.K. Machengete, notwithstanding the PS, who has actually managed to lead Zimpost, Dr. Chirume, on issues that I will also be presenting. My presentation is short. We have challenges, which challenges the ministry is aware, and we are very happy that these challenges have been made to be easy through the intervention and leadership of our minister. We'll talk to the response in terms of minister's request for entities on that. Strategies, we will talk about the highlighting policies, coordination and support required. And as Zimpost, we want to reaffirm our commitment to reliable service to the nation. You are aware that Zimpost is a designated postal operator. As a designated postal operator, we provide postal, courier, logistical, financial, and digital services. We have a footprint that also covers the rural, peri-urban, as well as rural communities. Why Zimpost is strategic? It's an institution that has the universal physical reach. We are where everyone is, and we are in line with the mantra of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, that we need to be where people are. And through this platform as Zimpost, we want to push government services. We want to push services to the citizenry. We are a backbone for the last mile government and citizen services. We are also a key enabler in terms of digital, financial inclusion, and economic participation. You are aware that through your wisdom and with the help of the regulator, we are running digital information centers, and we are championing the training of ICT skills to the citizenry of Zimbabwe. We have our digital transformation pillars. There are just 4. We look at innovation and digitization, where we look at modern systems. As Zimpost, we have come up with those chatbots, the mobile app, which the requirements of an ecosystem for e-commerce. As we look at 2026, this will be our major drive as the post. We are also customer-centric in terms of how we deliver the services to the citizenry. Under e-commerce and logistics, like I've said, this is our main thrust this 2026, where we want to support farmers through the ecosystems that we have created in terms of selling. For example, if you go into digital centers, we now have people who can actually look for mombes, and you are able to know which cattle you are able to see the type of brand that you want, and we want to facilitate that to our farmers. We also look at urban traders, and as a designated postal operator, we are a member to regional and international trade. We have those gateways which the citizenry can actually benefit from that. And we are also looking at empowerment and inclusion. Next slide. Our achievements, yes, we have managed to come up with a post-global, which is a modern system, and also the logistics system that we have managed to come up with. We also are digitizing our services and our processes, like our post-money and post-transfer. So as Zimpost, we are digitizing. As we are digitizing, we are looking at our physical products, some which we then take into digital space. We also support government programs nationwide, and we maintain our presence, like I've said, in remote and the underserved communities. We are partnering, like I've also indicated, with the ministry and the regulator to provide access to digital skills through our digital centers. Our challenges are not much because the minister, you are aware, we are looking at policy facilitation and institutional support. Yes, the duty exemptions on ICT, that has been said. But I'm happy to say, as the ministry last year, we managed to look at our postal policy, and the postal policy, it was reviewed, and we are now ready to put that into motion. We also suffer the issue around recapitalization, which your ministry has actually supported. We have seen the Office of the President and Cabinet coming through Sarah, where we have been given a consultant to validate what is required for the turnaround of Zimpost, and this was through your wisdom. Lastly, I will talk about 4 things that we feel should support Zimpost. These 4 things are: we look for a clear framework supporting the universal service obligation. We also are looking forward to a policy certainty in reserved and protected service areas. We also are lobbying through your good office for the support for Zimpost to become an access point for government services. Honorable Minister, you are aware that in Kenya, for example, they have a Huduma concept, which we have also customized as Zimbabweans, where you go into any of the postal outlets, you are able to get any government service. And we are saying, why does the government has to come up with other infrastructures when they've already invested heavily in the post offices? And this is where the people are. And we want to also to offer the death certificates, the birth certificates, everything from birth to death or on the life cycle of an individual. Lastly, we'll continue to look at the digital security and compliance. With that, honorable ministers, I want to submit. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together once again for. That's kind of too weak. We can do better than that. Thank you so much, Engineer Stendeni, for that submission. Let me at this point in time invite DHL to come and make a presentation, and then we can have our remarks and comments after the presentation. Let's put our hands together. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, allow me to ride on the protocol already observed. I have the shortest presentation. It's a mirror to what my brother Stenden has presented, because we are in the same field. And by the way, we are not competitors, but we complement each other. Before I get into my presentation, Honorable Minister, allow me to acknowledge the incredible work that you and your team are doing to connect Zimbabwe to the world. And I think it's also in sync with our value, which says connecting people, improving lives. Before I get into the main presentation, let me just take an outlook of what's going to happen in 2026 going forward. Move on. There's going to be significant growth in terms of volume of e-commerce business, mainly coming from SME. As you know, Zimbabwe is almost like 80% SME. And I'm pretty happy to share with you that as a DHO family, we do have a product which is also focusing on the improvement of SME, where we train them what is international trade, how do they navigate on customs issues. There is also going to be the demand for fast, trackable, high-tech enabled courier services and data-driven logistic solutions. That's why I've taken cognizance of what we are doing, because we are saying if somebody is seated in Gokwe, in Guruwe, wherever they are, they should be able to track their product where it is. They should be able to book, they should be able to change or to redirect the destination for their shipment. And we cannot achieve that without proper infrastructure in terms of ICT. There is going to be growth in terms of cross-border. We have seen after the African Continental Free Trade Area, your COMESA, your SADC, it's gonna push more business across borders. And this is where we come in now. Customer expectations. What they required yesterday is gonna be different from what they want in 2026. So let's get ready. They are gonna demand more than what we are giving them today. Looking at our expectation, Honorable Minister, we don't have too much, but we just want you to strengthen on the existing portfolio of products that you've been pushing, that we've seen results coming through. However, like the other speaker said, let's say, for example, somebody has been given a mobile phone from UK, America, wherever it is, with $10. It has to go through the clearance process where you have to have an agent charging $50. So at the end of the day, the value of the product will be far less than what they are supposed to pay, looking at these other charges. So we are saying, can you, through your relevant officers, lobby the Minister of Finance to review the de minimis value, which is currently standing at $10. We are also expecting you to promote. I'm pretty happy my brother mentioned about e-commerce in the villages where you can find your bonsmaras, your boran from village X to B. We want also to see you continuing with maintenance, the level competitive field, to ensure all those that are not registered as couriers, they are also registered and contribute positively to the growth of the economy. The fourth point is more or less like already in motion. We have seen a couple of resource sharing, infrastructure sharing, where you are doing some transfer of boosters and all that. We are saying, let's continue with that. We expect to see more of it. Where there's no service, let's have the service there. Last but not least, policy that support e-commerce. This is where the electronic business is going. So we would want to see more of that, working together with all partners. With those few remarks, Honorable Minister, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DHO, for that presentation. At this point in time, I will allow members from the courier services to make some comments, if there are any. I don't seem to see any hands. Honorable Minister, I think from the foregoing presentations, I think the key takeaways is, as I was listening, ZIMPOS that they require a clear framework supporting universal services obligation. They also require policies certainty in reserved and protected service areas. They're also looking for support in terms, they want to become an access point for all government services. DHL, in terms of the expectations, they want a review. I think this keeps on recurring, Honorable Minister. They want a review of. I think in this case, it's a different term. The de minimis threshold currently at $10. I'm not sure. I thought DHL they're going to unpack to us to say what's the de minimis, because it's a new term. Maybe you may want to just quickly unpack that to us.
Thank you very much. Whenever you bring anything into the country, Zimra Customs, etc., they would want to know what's value for them to pick up what is due to them. So this is the value that you are allowed to bring in country, right? Without attracting the requirement of you appointing an agent to clear your product. So if you bring something that is $20, definitely you have to appoint an agent to clear your product. So it's more or less custom related. I'm not well versed in that, but in terms of business, that's what it basically means. Thank you.
Thank you so much for unpacking that. I think it's now quite clear to everyone. They're quite happy, I think, with the way how the ministry is being is said to be a very good referee. It has maintained a level playing and competitive playing field. They're quite happy with that. They also want the promotion of e-commerce, especially I think in the foreign markets. I'm not sure how they want the ministry to support this. And also I think the issue of policies that support e-commerce growth. These are some of the issues which they would want a support from the ministry. At this point in time, we are going to move on to the next presenter. I'm not sure if Mr. Gwatizo is now in the house. Mr. Gwatizo. Thank you. Let's put our hands as he takes to the podium. Mr. Gwatizo represents ICT. Right?
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm sorry, Minister Wedu. I'm sorry, Wamputi. I'm sorry, DG. I'm sorry, Doc Chirume. It's always a privilege to address esteemed colleagues and experts, some global, and senior policymakers and regulators. And I will use a word advisedly, purporting to represent consumers. Because when we talk consumers in this sector, I just want to start by saying we are talking of such a huge constituency that some presidents don't even have it. It's a constituency of people local and abroad. It's a constituency of people and created people, corporate entities, and the like, whose day-to-day lives and existence are inextricably linked to the availability and reliability of these services we are combining together and calling ICT services. I'll pause for effect. Let that sink in. There is no one who has a life today, an existence today, which is not in some way, maybe to varying degrees, dependent on the availability and reliability of these ICT services. So when we are now looking at the sector that we call ICT sector, we have a historical perception of thinking telecoms. In 2026, we are more than 30 years late with a change of perception. ICT is not about telecommunications anymore. I know we have the telecommunications operators, the internet access providers who have made presentations, but let's change our mindset so that we are not held down by a dated mindset. Telecommunications begin its life with combining two words, tele and communications. And tele was about distance. Some people are tired of me talking this. There is no longer a distance consideration in the process of communicating. Because some of you this morning have read news from New York or Venezuela or India, and that had nothing to do with how far those news sources are. So in 2026, Honorable Minister and colleagues, because some of you are midnight advisors, wanting to preserve the little spaces that you are holding in this sector and misadvising decision makers at all levels, just so that you continue driving that Range Rover. Stop it. This is a communications sector that we are talking about. It's not just about you guys who are providing connectivity, who began your life as deployers of infrastructure. It's also about those people who are missing in this room. The young software providers, the young influencers, some of them not so young like me, entrepreneurs who are supplying contracts to government, and 9 months later they have not been paid for the important ICT work that they have done, and they don't have a desk in the Ministry of ICT. And I'm not taking away from them. Post House, congratulations, you have a desk in the Ministry of ICT, but you count how many letters we are sending today and see how deserving you are of that desk. If I choose to be diplomatic, my brother was very diplomatic. Oh, he's a diplomat, the DG. He said, it's not me who said this. It's Machiavelli who says this. I said, disclaimer. But he was spot on. If your door is not open to advice, then you're not going to benefit from the wisdom of the wise ladies and gentlemen who are going to walk through it. And we won't look at you as wise. But fortunately, we have a wise minister whose door, we were told in 2025 here, was open. And the DG, I remember in 2025 says, be circumspect about who's walking through your door. Please, Minister, be circumspect about those people who want to maintain the status quo. Be circumspect about those people who want to keep us 30 years ago, when we have an aspiration clearly articulated in NDS 2 of where we want to be with ICT at a time which we are marking generally and calling it when we have attained middle income economy status. And that's not really the goal. It's just the words that we're using, because you will have seen that once you have a middle income economy, it doesn't mean that everybody is happy. It doesn't mean that there's no poverty. There are so many other sub goals in there. And in the communications sector, one of the goals we would like to see articulated each time NDS2 is mentioned, we want to see everyone with a device. Not just the pupils, every citizen with a device that is competent for all the services they may want to access and enjoy. With due respect again to my colleague from Post House, I don't want, when I go to my rural areas, to look for a post office to access public services. No. I want my device where I am in my village business unit for me to be able to access from my device. I don't want anyone coming in between. So I'm tired of digital centers and community information centers. That's a township of digital services. Because these digital services are supposed to be available wherever I am, whenever I am, and they must be affordable, they must be reliable. Have you forgotten that these are our goals? So we have the policymaker, we have the regulator, we have the implementers. And the implementers, we have infrastructure providers. So maybe, as I was saying last year when I was here, to Portras, maybe you need to rebrand from Portras to Communications Authority of Zimbabwe. Maybe TOAS, you need to rebrand from TOAS to being an infrastructure company, because essentially that's where you start your life for us, consumers, providing the infrastructure. So a priority in 2026 is, let's stand back, let's look at our infrastructure requirements. Let's not look at them from the perspective of the viability and sustainability of the companies who are in there. Let's look at it from the perspective of the goals that we want to attain in NDS2. And you'll find that some answers are already there. I haven't heard anyone from Telecel here. Is there anyone from Telecel? Okay, good. You know what? When Telecel was facing shareholder challenges, we went back to first principles and said, what's the license that's enabling Telecel? It's an empowerment license. I was there, and I can speak authoritatively about how that license came to be. It's about empowerment. And then some empowerment entities went and grabbed these licenses. So he says, okay, let's stand back and say empowerment. Why don't we empower subscribers to resuscitate Telecel and reintroduce competition? The proposal is there in the ministry's archives. There are subscribers who are ready to make sure there is more competition in there. When we were talking about infrastructure sharing, we were talking about the very policy initiatives that will make sure there's infrastructure that is reaching everybody. And while we are on that, it is so not true that the USF is a tax on operators. No, yet. The USF is not a tax on operators. We have met some of you operators at the portfolio committee in Parliament claiming that we don't even know how that money is used. It's not your money, operators. The USF is not a tax on you. That's why it's a tax on revenue. And Minister, please don't be led to take these arguments and look like you don't have good background in 2026. The USF is a contribution from us consumers into the coffers of the public authorities so that we can cover underserviced areas. we do have proposals which didn't see the light of day, which were looking to increase the USF from 1.5% to maybe even 5%, so that we have money to do the sector development work that is required. And operators should stop claiming it to be a tax on them. So if you want to reduce in your minds tax, start by striking off USF from a tax on you. You're just collectors the way Zinara is collecting the broadcasting license. You're just collectors of that money, but it's money that's coming from consumers. And in 2026, Minister, let's have clarity on that, because we'll keep confusing each other and not going forward. That USF fund has got many purposes that it will serve. You'll see in Section 74 of the Act. Even local authorities are part of the beneficiaries of that money. So we must be very clear. Honorable Minister, in 2026, let's also start respecting consumers and giving them a desk in the ministry. If you look at one of our, I know we've got mixed opinions about China, and some mixed opinions about the China Communist Party. The China Communist Party has got an organ which they call the NPC, the National People's Congress. It is effectively the state in China. CCP is the political party. NPC, okay, is effectively the state. Do you know the vice chairman of the NPC at one point was the chairman of the Chinese Consumer Association? Some of you are hearing that for the first time. You didn't think the Chinese have a Chinese Consumers Association. They do. And you know where you will find them? You will find them at the forefront of standards perception in the manufacture of modern day innovations that you are looking at, those hovercrafts that you see on Chinese videos. The Chinese Consumer Association, it is there. That Chinese Consumer Association is the one that brought down Apple, because they have the numbers. They brought down Apple when Apple was deliberately degrading battery life so that you can move to new versions of the iPhone. Do you know that? There are a lot of geopolitical arrangements underlying what then emerges as technology developments. Battery life was being deliberately degraded, but the only person who had the strength was the one who had the numbers and sufficient disrespect for the source. That was the Chinese Consumers Association. Now, I mean, that's 1.4 maybe billion people. Zimbabwe, we are maybe at best 20 million people. We can't exercise the same market strength, but we can begin to do that. People in this room, in the ministry, some of them I can see, they remember when even at SADC Council of Ministers level, we were discussing collaboration at SADC level of consumer organizations. Some government somewhere is going to take it up, and then Zimbabwe will have to follow. But Zimbabwe can decide to lead, because we were the hosts of that Council of Ministers meeting. When a resolution was passed, it will be there in the records that we must make sure that in every SADC country, there's a viable national association of consumers, especially in the ICT field, that collaborates together. So that when we then express our views, we're not expressing our views as consumers in a 20 million population. We will express our views collectively in a regional market of maybe 300 to 400 million people. You can see what the acting MC is saying. So I will tick off my remarks, make sure I give him back his mic, and so he doesn't go saying these consumers don't know when to stop. So we've talked about a consumer within the ministry. There's a philosophy issue that came up earlier. Our philosophy issue is let's make service delivery the core. We don't care how many companies we've got, don't care how much money they are paying, we don't know how much they are being taxing, but let's check them at service delivery. Because that's what you exist for. If you come into this sector to enrich yourself, we will weed you out at the service delivery point. So we must be very clear in our policies, in our regulations, to check what service delivery do you exist? What problem do you exist to solve? And then check whether you are actually doing that. Minister, ma'am, public service can be transformed on the back of ICT. It was during the establishment of the government of national unity when the first Ministry of ICT came into existing. It was a very polarized political environment. It's not so polarized now. One of the stability factors that was mentioned, it's not so polarized now. We can take a whole of government approach. You know, the way you've clustered things in NDC2, try and have an interministerial commission so you can tell some of your colleagues how they can improve service delivery to the public by harnessing the capacities of ICT. If you look at NDS2 and you look at the village business unit, the thinking is the village is a place where agriculture happens, nothing more. But nothing can be further from the truth. There's a lot of, in quotes, ICT activity and opportunities at those villages. But when they've spoken irrigation, mangama wanda, then this is not going to be a threat unions. Yeah, so I've talked about the industry outside, and I've talked about the subscriber mutual society, which could run telecell and enhance competition. The last point has to be one that I started off with: convergence, 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 convergence. Everything is happening on this infrastructure, and we can't continue saying that electronic commerce will happen on an infrastructure that is separate from the infrastructure that social media is happening, from the infrastructure that is one of my favorite areas, where security of the country is happening. The next liberation war, the next Chimurenga, is not going to be fought using AK-47 rifles. If you think that that's going to happen, then you probably should ask yourself, should you be here? It's going to be fought using cyber actors. It's going to be fought using aerial devices. And the platform that will enable that is the infrastructure that we are talking about. So we are talking no less than national security when we talk convergence, convergence, convergence. I submit and will submit in writing what I have said, and then we'll await the Chinese Communist Party model implementation in 2026. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I wish, you could have continued, but, time is a limited resource. We could not allow him to continue, but you could see that he's quite passionate about issues to do with consumers, being able to provide services which are customer-centric and for the customers. Thank you so much, Mr. Gwatizo. At this point in time, allow me to invite my brother from Baker Tilly, Mr. C. Javanjanja, to speak to us. Let's put our hands as he takes to the podium. I hope today is not going to show us some scary, threats, He's a cybersecurity expert and he's quite passionate about the subject. Over to you, my brother.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. All protocols observed. I'll speak on 5 issues. The issue number 1 is a harmonization of the laws and operating procedures at country level, where we need to come out of the piecemeal of legislation, one legislation not speaking to another legislation from a security perspective and governance perspective. Number 2, we need as a country to look at our the word of the day, taxation. But from a consumer perspective, echoing what Mr. Gwadit was saying, what is the impacts in terms of what we need to achieve from NDS, from the national objective, if we are throwing in new taxations, new level of levies, new level of hard of doing business, not ease of doing business? What is the ultimate anchor, or what is ultimate results that needs to be done, where those key policies are done not just from a revenue, national revenue perspective, but from an informed research-based perspective. Number 3, I thank you, Minister, and the ministry for these dialogues. But one of the things that also needed is instead of just these dialogues which we are having, maybe at the start of the year, how are we tracking, as Madam Kala said, what we talked about last year? How are we receiving the feedback of what we have talked about last year and this year? Number 4, the capacity development which we needed within the sector perspective on 4 things. Number 1, developing the capacities that we need, not as an add-on, but building them from the ground up, from the schools, tertiary education, within the commerce itself, having those capacities, knowledge about ICTs, knowledge about security, knowledge about data protection needs to be there. Secondly, we need to see cohesiveness among NDAs, ministries, and government authorities, where if it's a message that's coming out there, there should be a cohesive voice on the police direction of what's happening in the areas that affect all of us. And within the ICT community, our trust and hope is the ministry to take up that voice, which is one of the things we are doing to bring clarity on some of those things. And lastly, enjoy 2026.
Thank you so much for those submissions. Just to recap, I think a few issues that you raise. The issue of taxation and levies, Honorable Minister, it keeps on recurring. I think it's an issue that you would need to speak to when you get the time to talk to us. And the issue of capacity building from grassroots level, and the issue of being able to track, the issues that we discuss and agree, I think is very important, and we really take note of. And again, the issue of harmonization of regulations, to avoid a piecemeal approach, so that there's a cohesion and unity in terms of the acts and the regulations. At this point in time, I'm not sure if there's anyone to make a comment from the sector where Mr. Zawanjanja comes from. There seems to be no comments. At this point in time, allow me to invite to the podium, and let's put our hands for the CEO of Computer Society of Zimbabwe, Miss Viola Dondo.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Minister, and all protocol observed. I want to start by congratulating the Minister on the recent achievements, being appointed to the Council, the AI Council. We applaud you for all the achievements that you continue to achieve. We know that once you get on those fronts, it means we'll also benefit as a sector and as a nation. So we have a lot of issues that are present. There is rapid AI adoption in the country, as we all know. Coupled with that, we have low digital literacy rates and there are online safety gaps. So what we are saying for us, because there's a lot of AI adoption, rapid AI adoption, there's need to really bring in the AI ethics, starting at school level, so that the students are also getting to understand what's involved as they embrace AI and delve into that platform. And there's continuous need to have the cybersecurity awareness programs starting at all those levels so that students, older people, everyone involved gets to know and understand what's involved in terms of cybersecurity and the ethics around all these. So we are saying we really need more to be done in terms of getting people to understand what AI is. So we are looking at even video animations, demystifying AI, policy frameworks, because a lot of nations still do not have proper AI frameworks. And then we are saying we want to be part of that AI ethics task force that will be looking into all these areas and getting to people to be aware of what's involved. We have an MOU with the ministry, and this year we are saying we want to make it operational in making sure that the literacy programs are going out there to the underserved communities. I know you've done a lot. You've already started a lot of initiatives, Honorable Minister, through the ministry, the DG track, and various other initiatives that have been happening. We are saying more in terms of that happening, and we want to be involved. And the teacher training, that's what we were even aiming for and pushing for in the MOU. So we want to really do more in that, because we see a lot of teachers being left behind in this technology side. And our commitment, and we hope it can be adopted as a nation commitment, to say digital literacy for all by 2026. And what we are pushing for more so, because now there's a lot of, we are hearing gadget for everyone, gadget, laptop for every child. We are saying the child online safety policy really needs to go out and protect our children. The adults, yes, still have to be protected, but the children will be left behind. And it's quite scary if we continue in this trajectory and there's nothing that protects the children. So there's a lot that we will be knocking on your door for to be able to support. We are committing to train those teachers. We just said we put the figure to say 10,000 teachers in the country, saying maybe 1,000 per province. Because last year we were going around the provinces and we're seeing the need, the gaps that were there. So we are saying this year we want to be different. Because we went around the provinces and we saw the gaps, we are committing to say we want a change, a transformation in all those areas. This year we were put as a key market in digital skills in our under ICDL, and we will be measured against Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. So we need to do something. Because of that, we are committing to say we want to see all these things happening so that we can also be able to continue to rise up as we are measured against those other markets. Thank you. That's my submission.
I know we are now getting a bit tired, but I think we can do a bit better. Thank you. Thank you. I think the expectations from the Communist Society of Zimbabwe, I think they're quite clear. Honorable Minister, they need the operationalization of the MOU with the ministry, and the strengthening and enforcement of the child online safety policy. And I'm not sure if it was a pledge or it was a commitment to say they're going to train at least 10,000 teachers for the year 2026. It's a commitment. Thank you. At this point in time, I think we have come to the end of this segment where presentations were being made, and I'm sure we did not leave anyone behind. Everyone was catered for. So allow me to invite the MC, the PEMSEC from the Ministry of ICT, Post and Courier Services, Dr. Biula Chirume, to take over.
Thank you very much, Acting CD, for taking us through that session. Quite interesting expectations, Honorable Minister, from way leaves to taxis to dig ones policy to power to capacity building, and of course the need to make sure that our children are protected as they work or access things online. I'm sure the Honorable Minister is already working on those. She has responses on some of them, and some of them she'll have to take up in this new calendar. I'm here for the simple task of introducing our guest of honor today. I know most of you have already congratulated her for assuming the new role where she is actually going to be part of the AI champions under the Smart Africa initiative. That's the person that I'm talking about. That's the most recent achievement. But we all know and appreciate that she's our minister since 2023 and is also a member of Chikomba West constituency in Mashonaland East province. She is a very experienced parliamentarian who has served in the 9th Parliament as a proportional representative member for Seke District. Of course, at continental level, as I've already alluded to, it's quite a huge milestone to be one of the only 7 African ministers appointed in November 2025 to the inaugural Smart Africa Artificial Intelligence Council, which is a very high level body established by Smart Africa in collaboration with the African Union and the International Telecommunications Union to guide Africa's approach to artificial intelligence policy, governance, ethics, and innovation. And Madam Viola, I'm sure you are very excited. Your concerns will be dealt with as the Honorable Minister sits at that council. On her appointment to the cabinet, she assumed the chairmanship of the Pan-African Postal Union, PAPU, a position she holds until March 2026, providing continental leadership on postal sector modernization and digital transformation. As you know that, as most of us are already aware, there will be a Plain Port meeting in March 2026, and this is why we are talking about 2026, to maybe reappoint or have elections for the SG as well as the Deputy Secretary General. She earlier served as member of the Pan-African Parliament, where she was first Vice President of the Youth Caucus. She was also appointed Assistant Speaker of Zimbabwe's 9th Parliament, presiding over parliamentary sittings as well as serving on the budget and justice committees. Within the party structures, she's the ZANU-PF provincial spokesperson for Mashonaland East Province in the main wing. This position actually makes her the highest ranking woman in that structure and reflects a deliberate commitment to advancing women's participation and leadership at all levels. Honorable Minister Mavetera is widely recognized as a leading champion of youth. I think, Madam Nkala, this is why you wanted us all to be dressed like youth. I think as we celebrate the Youth Month that is coming from the 1st of February, we will take that into account so that we really look young. She is a strategic marketer and ICT expert with professional track record spanning over a decade. Academically, she holds an honors degree in management and marketing, and as well as a master's degree in strategic management, and is currently working on her doctorate in business leadership, specializing in ICT with Midlands State University. She is indeed a person of many accolades, one of which we have already talked about. But she has also received the International Computer Driving License Africa recognition in 2024. She has also received the Youth Champion Award, Eminence Business Awards in 2024. And she has also been listed as one of the under 40. She's listed as one of the 40 under 40 most influential young business leaders in Zimbabwe by the Institute of Corporate Directors of Zimbabwe. She is a marketing champion leadership. She also received a marketing champion leadership award, by the Marketers Association of Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe Achievers Awards 2025, which speaks to advancing women and youth leadership, and also ranked one of the top 50 most influential women in Zimbabwe by the Women Corporate Directors Network Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the lady that I'm talking about. Can we put our hands together as I humbly invite the Honorable Minister to give her address? Honorable Minister, Madam.
Thank you very much. May you all sit. Good morning. Yeah, it was a very long morning. Yeah, allow me to recognize the Honorable Deputy Minister from the Ministry of ICT, Post and Courier Services, Honorable Dingimuzi Puti, the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of ICT, Post and Courier Services, Dr. B, the Director General of Portras, Dr. GK Machengete. Let me recognize our various telco players here represented. I'm sure I can quickly mention. We have got, yes, there is Aura there, there is Zanet, Econet, Tel1, Zimpost, Telco, Net1, DHL, DFA, and Mtande. Yeah. Is there anyone that I left? Please clap hands for me. Thank you very much. Allow me to also recognize senior government officials here present, esteemed ICT stakeholders, members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning once again. It is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you this morning. I really want to profusely thank you for taking your time to participate at this stakeholder engagement meeting. This is just not a ceremonial meeting, but this is a clear testament that Zimbabwe's digital future matters to you. And that's why you're here today. And indeed, since this matters to the government of Zimbabwe, we believe that we need to put immense effort to make sure we achieve the digital landscape that we want. We meet at a time where technology is not a support function of the economy, but it is the economy. Meaning that we need to redirect our thoughts, making sure that we achieve an economy, a digital economy that is inclusive and speaks into the consumers' interests and also our citizens' interests. From now, we are talking about farmers checking their weather updates, looking at how small businesses can also receive payments, meaning we need to invest greatly on our fintech solutions, and how government delivers its services. ICT is now shaping our daily life for every Zimbabwean, and that is the reality that we have today. When we were in our briefing, I remember we spoke about how we can really be able to talk to the Minister of Finance to find out ways that they can to improve the budget for the Minister of ICT. Though we know that it resides in various other ministries, but it's important for us to be very deliberate and look at how we are going to capitalize as a nation for us to improve all government services by adopting the use of artificial intelligence, the use of all ICTs that we can talk about. Following the ATU meeting that we had on 18 December 2023, we agreed that we would have this engagement each and every year. And hopefully we agreed that we would have it at the beginning of each year. But today there came another proposal to say maybe we need to have this every 3 months, if need be, or every 4 months. And I'm sure PS, our president, His Excellency Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, is a listening president, and us, his lieutenants, we are supposed to also follow suit. So us having this, maybe let's say 4 months, every 4 months, I think has to be the way that we need to go from now on. So I want to rest assure you that we'll have these engagements together with Portras. Portras always facilitates these meetings, and we want to really thank them for making sure that this is ceremoniously done. Allow me to say we need to follow suit. Let's make sure what has been requested will come to fruition. Let's have this every 4 months and make sure that we track the progress that we would have had on anything that we would have agreed the beginning of the year. The conversations that we have here are not supposed to be a talk shop. It is a working conversation about where we are going, where we have come from, and what we need to do better. Alvin Toffler said, the illiterate in the 21st century are not those people who cannot read and write, but it's about the people who do not learn, relearn, and unlearn. So today, after this conversation, we should be able to position ourselves to say, what is it that we are going to unlearn? What is it that we need to relearn so that we are relevant for the 21st century? Before I speak about where we are going, allow me to briefly reflect on what we have done, what we have achieved together in the past year alone. These achievements are not abstract policy documents, but these are concrete outcomes delivered through partnerships and commitment across the sector. During this period, we completed Zimbabwe's National Artificial Intelligence Strategy 2026 to 2030, which is going to be launched by His Excellency, our President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, on the 13th of March, 2026. This strategy is not about abstract concepts or futuristic language. It is about practical applications, how AI can improve our education, health sector, tourism, agriculture, mining, and make sure that we have systems that are put in place to modernize all the sectors of our economy. We need to improve productivity and indeed improve public sector delivery. We need to be very clear that accurate measures of success have to be put in place. We need to work more on implementation. We must ensure that this strategy becomes a living framework that drives innovation, investment, and skills development. We have also finalized our national cybersecurity strategy, which is currently awaiting cabinet consideration. These two frameworks alone significantly strengthen our digital governance and national resilience. In addition, I'm honored to really thank you for you to congratulate me for being appointed to be one of the only 7 ministers across Africa to serve on the Smart Africa Artificial Intelligence Council. This appointment is not a personal accolade. It is a recognition of Zimbabwe's growing leadership and credibility in the digital and the AI space. We also led the process of gazetting the Postal and Telecommunications Amendment Bill, which is an important legislation milestone that modernizes our regulatory environment and aligns it with the current technological realities. We now look forward to finalizing this bill in the upcoming session of the 10th Parliament. Under the leadership of His Excellency, our President, the Ministry ensured the successful launch of flagship initiatives such as the Presidential Internet Scheme, the Telemedicine Project, both of which are already transforming access to connectivity and healthcare services, particularly in underserved communities. On the human capital front, we rolled out free national digital skills programs, including the Digital Skills Ambassadors Program, the 1.5 million coding program, the cybersecurity program. These initiatives are building a digitally competent population that can effectively be able to participate and also benefit on the digital economy. We also rebranded and refocused our community information centers into digital centers, repositioning us to make sure that these digital centers become hubs of innovation, skills development, and service access at the community level. I heard Mr. Gwatidzo speak to say, yes, as much as we're talking about digital centers, why not also talk about mobile applications which make digital services accessible? Allow me to also say, as we are marching to 2026, we are glad that we managed to complete our enterprise architectural modeling, which is part of what we're supposed to do in terms of making our e-government services accessible. Therefore, as we have launched that and we have got the model, now we are fully implementing our e-government systems to make sure that we become efficient as government. The efforts that we are doing each and every single day allow us to really progress every single time. This past year, we had investment in the ICT sector of 14.5%, reflecting increased investor confidence. In comparison, we also had the mobile penetration exceeding 103% and our internet penetration reaching an 83% mark. As we enter 2026, our work is firmly anchored on NDS2, which runs from 1 January 2026 to the 31st of December 2030. And indeed, our national AI strategy also runs from 2026 to 2030. In alignment with all these two frameworks, the ministry has developed its strategic plan within the same period, informed by robust engagements, including our recent strategic workshop in Kariba. This plan is our commitment to building a knowledge-based, innovative, and digitally inclusive society. Our direction is clear and consistent with Zimbabwe's National Vision 2030 to become a prosperous and upper middle income economy. I mentioned it this morning to say, for us to achieve Vision 2030, ICTs are going to play a very critical role, not as an enabler, but for us to make sure that we fully achieve Vision 2030 by adoption of ICTs fully. We have our Smart Zimbabwe 2030 Master Plan and our SDGs, where we need to achieve a fully digital economy. And this aligns with Vision 2030. At the heart of our strategic plan is digital transformation that delivers real value. This means efficient government services, competitive and innovative businesses, and citizens who can access opportunities regardless of location. Digital transformation must be felt, and we need to reduce queues, have faster service delivery, lower transaction costs, and expand access to markets. To make this a reality, we are prioritizing programs that build digital skills and expand access to ICT infrastructure and services. A digital economy cannot thrive if citizens lack the skills to participate. Equally, it cannot grow if connectivity remains uneven. Our telco players are here, and we are happy to really say, as government, the last cabinet, we had the approval of the reduction of fees and levies within the ICT sector. And now this year, we are going to come up with SIs, which will speak into the reduction of fees and levies. And engagements are still underway with the Minister of Finance for us to work on the taxes that you proposed. You spoke about various taxes, but more importantly, we need to also work on the excise duty that you spoke about. If need be, there is need for us to really have a meeting with the Minister of Finance, together with US telco players, and highlight these key issues. We have really been talking about the cost of data. Yes, interventions have been made, and I really want to applaud our telco players for coming up with a lot of bundles, a lot of packages that are related to trying to make data more affordable to our citizens in Zimbabwe. But for us as government, where we need to come in is on the reduction of these levies and fees. And we are also, I'm sure you had to also look at what we agreed as cabinet. You will see that we had to speak into some licensing fees being reduced. So this is going to really assist our telco players in at least being able to take this money, save some money, and be able to make sure that they take this money to invest in our infrastructure and also reinvest in their various organizations. Inclusivity remains a defining principle of our approach. Our digital transformation agenda is deliberately designed to ensure that no one and no place is left behind. Targeted ICT programs will continue in line with our national AI strategy to support rural communities, women, youth, and persons with disabilities, so that the digital economy becomes a driver of shared prosperity rather than deepened inequality. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to also turn briefly to an issue that I've spoken about, and this also affects every citizen and every business represented here: the cost of ICT services. Yes, as a ministry, we are acutely aware that affordability remains a critical determinant of digital inclusion and uptake. And like I said, that we really fully acknowledge the operational realities faced by operators. And this conversation needs to be done, and it has to be done this first quarter. So I'm sure when we have the next meeting, we'll have at least have deliberated together with the Minister of Finance and be able to come up with a position in terms of the taxes in the Minister of in the sector of ICT, and find out how best we can also work towards the power challenges, the foreign currency pressures, and also the regulatory obligations. I also want to continuously be able to urge operators to proactively review their pricing models and service delivery frameworks with a shared commitment to making ICT services more accessible and reliable for all Zimbabweans. Henry Ford said, "Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. But working together is success." So I believe that when we work together, that's where we get the success. Let us continuously be able to engage so that we have the success that we so much want. We want to also foster strong collaboration between the public and private sectors through PPPs. We aim to mobilize more investment, innovation, and technical expertise to deliver priority programs and projects. This partnership approach is critical, as we are aware that this is going to accelerate progress towards Vision 2030 while ensuring value for money and sustainability. As candid partners, we must also acknowledge the challenges before us. Zimbabwe's journey towards a robust digital economy faces real constraints. Chief amongst them is the absence of a comprehensive digital economy strategy. This is essential to coordinate and drive our transformation agenda. While continental and regional frameworks exist at the AU and also SADC levels, we want to make sure that this 2026 will finalize our national strategy as limited by ability to leverage these platforms fully. The e-government development index score for Zimbabwe was 0.44% in 2024. In 2025, we await the results. But I think we really need to move faster and more decisively. This low score highlights the urgency of strengthening our digital public infrastructure, including digital identity systems and digital product passports, which are foundations for our e-commerce and efficient service delivery and citizen trust. Rural digitalization remains another pressing challenge. Yes, it was noted that we need to incentivize organizations that are going to invest in digital infrastructure, especially in the rural areas, which I think is definitely the right way for us to go, so that at least we can bridge the digital divide. We need to make sure that we do not restrict economic participation and opportunities in the rural areas. We need to address this, and this requires a coordinated approach. And I really want to continuously be able to call upon our private sector to say, let's work together towards making sure that we bridge the rural divide and urban divide. Skills development is also key. The implementation of various initiatives by government and also private players like Computer Society, where they have the ICDL program, I think is also very key. Viola also spoke about the issue of teachers training, which I want to thank you for at least being able to provide for 10,000 teachers training. And yesterday I had a meeting with my counterpart from the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, and we agreed on two issues which are quite fundamental. The first issue we agreed on was for the training of our teachers. And within our 100-day plans yesterday, as we deliberated with our PS and Deputy Minister, we realized that we need to come up with targets within the public sector in terms of training, and the teachers are also included. So this training is going to happen each and every 100 days. We've set ourselves a target for training our teachers and also training the various public servers in terms of reskilling and upskilling them in terms of digital tools. And we want to really appreciate you for the ICDL program, which has really assisted us as Zimbabwe in terms of digital skills training. And we think we need to do more and even work towards advanced training, and this has to be done. Secondly, we then deliberated on the curriculum, where we said it was important for us to introduce robotics coding as early as we can, as early as even ECD-A. And that the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education are going to be working on that to make sure that we are going to introduce various clubs. We're going to also introduce these various initiatives and make sure also that we make ICT compulsory. So when we make ICT compulsory, what does that mean? It means a device for every learner. When we're saying we need one device for every learner, it means that we need also our parents to assist us. We also, as government, are also going to be coming in to make sure that we assist other communities to make sure they have access to these devices. There was also the issue of devices proliferation, which was mentioned by Econet, which I agree very well. And we are waiting upon ZITCO and various institutions who are also working towards the provision of devices within in country. And as government, it was also noted by Madam Kala, where she said that yes, I think it's important. Let's also incentivize for the procurement of these devices. Incentive, yes, you talked about incentives, but at the end of the day, sometimes you know the taxman, you know Ramtuli. We need to collaborate. The peer spoke about these papers. Let's find a way. Let's be able to engage. Engagement is key. And I really want to continuously be able to call upon you to say, let's work on this together. Let's continuously knock on the doors of the taxmen. I'm sure we'll be able to achieve a lot. We must also confront the growing issue of electronic waste and ICT usage. As ICT usage expands, so does e-waste. This poses environmental and health risks. So we need to develop and enforce a clear policy on waste and electrical and electronic equipment, where we need to make sure that this doesn't have to be optional, but it is necessary for our digital growth and sustainability. Despite these challenges, I remain confident. There are quite some challenges, but we need to make sure that we overcome these challenges by putting a lot of efforts as government and US private sector also working towards this. The way lifts will engage the Minister of Local Government. We need to continuously work towards at least having a harmonized framework. And this is part of the review of our levies and fees, where we need to we don't need to duplicate fees to our telco players. So this engagement also will be done, as you have also alluded to. I have really listened to your various presentations, yes, to the postal services. They also requested that we also look at some increasing the limits, which I agree. And we also need to then engage and maybe come up also with the relevant policies which are relevant to that. Your insights really reinforce the importance of a structured engagement, policy certainty, and collaborative implementation. As a ministry, we really want to take these expectations seriously. As we look ahead, let us focus on practical action, shared accountability, and measurable outcomes. My team stands ready to work with you. We also want to work towards the innovation programs that we have that Potra spearheads under the Innovation Challenge, and work towards an ICT startup policy, which we are concluding now, to make sure that at least we turn this policy into progress and have due impact. Let us remain engaged, proactive, and united in purpose. The future of Zimbabwe's digital economy is not abstract, but it is being shaped by the decisions we make today. Together, we can transform challenges into opportunities and ensure that ICTs become a true catalyst for national development. I also want to encourage Zimpost. Yes, we really have been talking about Zimpost, and the postal sector is part of the ITU regulations. But I also want to then encourage you to have a national logistics hub where we have an API-driven platform to provide seamless data exchange between e-commerce platforms. As we are also coming up with our e-commerce bill and electronic transactions bill, I think it's important that we'll be able to work closely to make sure that we enhance our e-commerce platforms as a country. Allow me to also highlight on some other key issues that I think we need to also reflect on this year, which I think are quite needed. We talk about the legislative agenda, which is quite clear, where we said we're going to be working on the various policies that I think we really need to work on. Again, we need to, I also want to task porters to also make sure that even before we are going to have this meeting, you also constantly be able to have meetings with your various telco players and find ways that you can so that at least you'll be able to design and secure more conversations amongst yourself. Again, we need to also leverage on telecom cell tower data to augment GPS on all our platforms. I expect our telco players to also have real-time network-based tracking on all their base stations. let us see how we can make sure that at least we have real-time engagement on all our various towers. Allow me to also say that there is need for us to also look at how we can enhance our mobile money platforms for them to be an engine of e-commerce. Let us also formalize the integration of various platforms which are already in place, the likes of One Money, EcoCash, and all to our postal and courier payment systems. We also need to also look for a program which we want to initiate, which we call IoT for National Assets, where we want to invite telco providers to partner on deploying IoT sensors in all our various systems, and also make sure that at least we have the critical infrastructure that we can put in place to be able to monitor fleet health, secure assets, and also provide data to optimize our entire national logistics flow. Allow me to also say that would be hoping that there's been a lot that has been mentioned about the postal sector, where we think definitely we need our digital centers to be connectivity hubs. Therefore, we would want to make sure that at least we identify at least 50 of these postal units to make sure that they would be able to assist us with high bandwidth within this low cost connectivity, and also turn each hub into a digital oasis platform for communities and hyper efficient base for our courier services. Allow me to also say that we also need to make sure that Portras has a digital trust framework, where we need to make sure that at least they come up and launch a verified sender and receiver system, which is quite optional in leveraging mobile number in our KYC verification from telecoms to build trust in high value and remote transactions, reducing fraud. We have got a lot of programs that we have seen. We have seen a lot of fraud that has occurred, especially in our various platforms. So we would want Portras to really develop a digital trust framework this year for us to make sure that we'll be able to prevent this. And of course, the last issue that I think we really need to work on is a Green Network Alliance. Yes, this was also mentioned again. I'm sure it was by Tel1. Tel1 presented on behalf of TOAS. And I would like to say, I think we really need to make sure that we have a green logistics corridor. Let's incentivize. Yes, there are already incentives put in place for our solarization programs, but I think we need from the telco players to find out ways that we can, for us to make sure that at least we would go green within the sector. And this has to be done by us providing for more incentives, but at the same time finding out ways that we can for us to make sure that we would really be able to incentivize all this. I'm sure, as far as I can say, I would say as we go during the course of the year, we have many more interventions that we think we'll be able to outlay as we go. But I really want to thank the sector, which has really assisted us to be where we are today. We contributed, according to Honorable Mtuli, we contributed 12% to the GDP last year, which is quite huge. And just that alone, we are hoping that this year would improve. But at the same time, we need to set ourselves a target of where we want to go. Other ministries have got targets that they've put for themselves, but I'm sure when we meet together, we will be able to discuss more on what target we can give ourselves so that we achieve a digitalized economy by 2030. I look forward to more productive engagements and also continued collaboration throughout 2026 and beyond. I thank you for this.
Another big hand of applause for the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much. You may be seated. I think from the way that I introduced her and how she spoke, you can see the match. I'm not going to go through to highlight key points. Why? Because I know the Honorable Minister is attending her first meeting on the AI Council at 2:30. So I need to release her to do that. but fundamentally, she has set the motion, she has set the pace, she has given us direction on what we are expected to do, coming up with a digital economy strategy, and of course, Potras making sure that you tap on the issues around, or you close the issues around frauds happening in on our networks. She has also committed to making sure that she liaises with her counterpart, Honorable Mtuli Ncube, once we receive the papers, so that we equip her with information or with the topical issues around that. So that commitment alone, what more do we want? When we have that at the highest level of the ministry. A big hand of applause once more, ladies and gentlemen. At this moment, I will humbly ask the Honorable Deputy Minister to give us the closing remarks of this important meeting. Thank you.
Maskwera sei. Kumba kwenyu kuri sei. The Honorable Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable T.A. Mavetera, our esteemed Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Dr. Beulah Chirume, the Director General of Porters, Dr. G.K. Machengete, all protocol observed. Allow me to recognize that time is not on our side. As such, my vote of thanks is going to be just precisely that. First of all, Honorable Minister, I would like to thank you for making a very profound recap of what transpired in this gathering here. Presentations made, submissions very valid made, but you were very able to bring them together and made a very, very informed recap of those presentations. I would like to thank you as well for your time, your vision, and your consistency. Your time because of your commitment outside everything else that you are charged to look at. You chose to spend the day with important stakeholders of the ICT sector so that we together charter a way forward in terms of fulfilling the expectations of the National Development Strategy 2. Your vision, because it is your making that we are meeting concurrently as we did last time. And these engagements continue to make the sector better and better, as alluded to by presentations made here. Your consistency in terms of how you have adhered strongly to the same principle. I also would like to thank the PS and her team in the Ministry of ICT, Postal and Courier Services for managing to work in your vision and enabling that we steer the sector of the ICT in partnership, of course, with the regulator to the position where the ministry is today. We have hosted very successful international events at SADC level and at international level in terms of global ITU and all. And kudos. I also would like to thank the Director General of Porters, Dr. G.K. Machengete, for the venue and every other, as will be announced later by the Director of Ceremonies, but principally for managing to steer in presenting a level playing field for our operators in the ICT sector. Presentations made here indicated that the working environment is quite conducive owing to the rise or competent performance in terms of how we fared in the year 2025. You have been a regulator that has pulled down all dissent as well as controversies in terms of relationships that we know exist between a regulator and operators. Where you find operators content and the regulator happy, it indicates that the Machiavelli analogy he made mention of is indeed about his leadership acumen. And thank you very much, Dr. Machangete, for that. Also, let me thank all of you who dedicated their time the day here, both presenters and those who did not manage to present, of course. But I know we are together because we all mean the journey with good intentions and purpose. And to our members of the Fourth Estate, I'm very happy I saw you in numbers today. It is your function in society to pollinate or to bring news, accurate news to people. And it is a pleasure to have you here. May we continue to engage and work together as we take the Ministry of ICT and all other sectors in the ICT sector to the light and recognition that we all yearn for and deserve. It is about 35 or so minutes after our intended time of adjournment from this engagement. And it means that I'm standing between yourself and something that the Director of Ceremony should come and announce. But your response indicates that you know that it's time for lunch. And maybe to steal the flowers, I'll announce that I overheard that posters have been very generous enough, as usual, that they've both provided the venue and are going to provide you with a sumptuous meal. I think.
Another big hand of applause for the Honorable DM. What is left for me to do is to thank the DM himself. DM, thank you so much for the leadership. Thank you so much for the wisdom and for the support that you always give to the Honorable Minister so that the work of the ministry can move ahead at the required level of success that we all endeavor to see. Thank you very much, Honorable DM. I think we are approaching the close of this very, very important meeting. And what is left for me, I know you have all been thanked, but just to say from the PS office, thank you very much. I wrote the letter, so I need to thank you again. We will have a group photo just by the entrance where we came in. So we are all invited. Protocol will advise us as to how we will stand for the group photo. And also the DG is very courteous, as already alluded to by the Honorable DM. We have enjoyed the teas, but he says we cannot go just after having tea. He wants us to have lunch. If he could, he would invite us for dinner as well. So I will invite the marketing manager to give us the logistics on how this will be served, the lunch. Over